The end appears to be in sight regarding the legal woes of the detained leader of the proscribed Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. This time, the senator representing Abia South, Enyinnaya Abaribe, is optimistic that President Bola Tinubu will release Kanu. Senator Abaribe described President Tinubu as a listening leader, saying the president will do the needful to address the criminal activities in the southeast. He hoped the president will heed the advice of the Attorney General of the Federation and others who have called for the release of the IPOB leader. The senator also vowed to stand as guarantor for the detained Kanu. Now, BKO, Senator Abaribe is optimistic, he's confident, but your thoughts on this? Do you share the same optimism?
To an extent, yes. To an extent, yes. And I recall that President Tinubu, during his campaigns in the southeast, said he was prepared to dialogue with some of the people causing the problems in the southeast. He said he was prepared to dialogue with the agitators. I still remember that day when he made that promise during one of his campaigns. So I believe that the situation could warrant the president taking that decision. Many people would not want to see the president do that because of what Kanu had done in the past, and some of his supporters had deliberately even targeted the president. There is no name that they've not called the president. But the president is a father for everyone, and he's someone who does his best to make friends, cutting across political and even ethnic divides. So I won't be surprised if the president feels that, well, at this point, Kanu is remorseful enough to be allowed to go. You see, the case is in court, no doubt about it, but we know that political solutions are sometimes, or most times, even better than trying to resolve issues through the courts. And I've given examples in the past. The Encounter Freedom Party and supporters of Encounter Freedom Party in South Africa and supporters of ANC, they were killing themselves. What was then known as black-on-black violence. You see somebody being slaughtered in public. Once they grab their adversary, they will then begin to slaughter the person. In the end, they came to a round table, and a power-sharing module was instituted, whereby Buthelezi became a vice president. And the killing stopped instantly. Instantly. We are students of history. We know that big issues are often resolved through a round table. Even Ukraine and Russia that are involved in a senseless war, they can bring them together to achieve peace. How many people believe that Israel and Egypt could ever even have diplomatic relations? In those days when the Arabs and the Israelis were always fighting, Egypt was the major country in the Arab world that Israel had to contend with militarily. You know? And Israel even seized some, Israel had to give up a land that is seized from Egypt.
Are you talking about the Yom Kippur War?
No, the Yom Kippur War is different.
It's different,
it's just one of the many wars.
One of the many.
Yes.
Six-Day War.
What I'm saying is, over time, Egypt, remember Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian leader, he was a hero in the whole of the Arab world because of the way he confronted Israel. So I'm saying that at the end of the day, if they told you that Israel and Egypt could ever make peace, you would argue. But today, they made peace. And Israel had to give up land that it had seized from Egypt. Interestingly, the piece of land that is seized even had, what was it called? Had hydrocarbon, had oil deposits.
Okay, oil deposits, okay.
Yes. So, for them to have given that up in exchange for peace, that's to tell you that no sacrifice is too big to make for peace. Nnamdi Kanu, in the last 1 year, has changed.
Yeah, looking at some of the things he said. Yeah.
Yes, and he agreed before the death of the late Ifeanyi Ubah.
Okay.
They went to see him. Ifeanyi Ubah, Eze Chukwuemeka Eri, and Senator Abaribe, they went to see him in detention. And he agreed with them that from now on, no more sit at home. He even wrote it in his own hand.
Yes, he did.
So that people won't say, oh, he made a pronouncement that they didn't hear. Today, no more sit at home. But cultists and other outlaws who had hijacked the whole struggle, they are still enforcing
the sit at home.
The Simon Ekpas of this world, they are still enforcing.
Because what you're saying is the release of Nnamdi Kanu can bring stability to the Southeast. Does he still have that capital?
I think so, because you see, the point is, those who are causing problems, they are saying they are doing it because of him. If we now release him, would they still be doing sit at home, for example? On what basis would we? So
there will be no reason for this.
Yes, because the whole thing was anchored on his incarceration. And that's why Abaribe said, what we now know in the Southeast is that criminals and all other people who advocate violence have taken over and are using the name of Nnamdi Kanu to perpetrate all these despicable acts.
Okay.
So if you are using his name and the man
has now
is
been
released, for example, what reason would you cite? And Kanu will not hold his arm and what people continue to use his name, tarnish his name by resorting to violence. He's going to get his own people to also resist some of those negative things. So, in the interest of the economy of the Southeast,
exactly,
I think that this issue has to be looked at. But as I've always said, it cannot be released without preconditions.
Okay.
Yes, you have to agree that no more armed struggle against the Nigerian state. There are conditions that I'm sure even if the president were to take this decision, he will agree to. Even Kanu himself has said that he's even prepared
to give up the armed struggle.
He's prepared for whatever condition.
Okay, whatever condition.
There was a time he even suggested, okay, you can even put me under house arrest as a start. You know, so I believe that this is something that should be considered. And if they are giving conditions and he agrees to those conditions, why not? Why not release him? Why not release him?
CK, let me bring you here. The release of Nnamdi Kanu. PK has said that it can bring stability to the Southeast. What are your thoughts here?
To a large extent, I've always said it, just as BK said. I'm of the school of thought, and so many people within my own thought also believe that what we need now is a political solution, not a legal solution.
Not a legal solution?
No. What we need is a political solution because Nnamdi Kanu has shown capacity in his utterances in the past few years that he's ready for dialogue, unlike the hard-end stance that he had in the past. And his utterances then was more combative than it is now. And so, for me, we can always find that solution. And if the government is ready for such dialogue, and I think it's a way to go. That's one. Secondly, he talked about some other climes where you had dialogue to be able to settle it. If you remember in the year past, the crazy problem that bedeviled Northern Ireland. I'm sure BK remember vividly. Northern Ireland, that is the United Kingdom, was a theater of war. And that one was even about Christians, the Catholics and the Protestants. It was a major war that people were killing themselves. Is it the fields or whatever they call them then? It was a serious problem. But after several years, both of them laid their hands, came together at a round table, and had a dialogue. And all these issues were resolved. And in the past, you also look at it from the point that Bianca Onu Ojukwu, who is the current Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, if you listen to what she said when she was appointed, she said that it is her wish and belief that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will do everything possible to be able to make sure that she will do everything possible to convince the president for Nnamdi. I am from the Southeast. I know what we have suffered in the past few years over this issue. And this issue of unknown gunmen that are practically taking over the whole of the Southeast. The economy of the Southeast is totally on its knees.
Exactly.
Now, totally.
On a Monday.
Southeast, irrespective of whatever it is an economic hub for Nigeria. If you know the level of business that goes on in Aba, in Onitsha, in Nnewi, these three places, it goes into billions. And you come to realize that every Monday, people don't come out.
But looking at what Senator Abaribe said, he's optimistic. Do you share the same
Very, I've said that
optimism
before.
well?
Yes, of course I am. Just as BK said, if the person, as they say, there's a say in my place, in Igbo, let me just try to interpret it here.
Please do.
They say, when you have a housemaid that came to look after a newborn baby, if the baby died, what would the housemaid do? She will go. And that is exactly what you're saying. To a large extent, most of these people that perpetrated evil in the Southeast, under the name of Nnamdi Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu has come out to denounce that there's nothing like sister at home.
Yeah.
He came out, and he even wrote it. He said there's nothing like sister at home. That people, it started by when he was picked. What they said was that anytime you'll be taken to court, that there should be a sister at home. But later they just stopped that. But you now realize that since the Finnish government have picked up Simon Ekpa, the level of insecurity in the Southeast has gone down drastically. I'm telling you that for free. People are going about their businesses on Mondays now. I'm not saying totally.
Yes.
But when you go to a state like Enugu State, you don't even believe there's a Monday. If you go to a state like Enugu State,
it's
yes,
the governor of
that
Enugu
is what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to.
In the area of security.
The governor of Enugu State, what the young man is doing within the past 2 years that he has been there is unbelievable. So you see a high level of stability. The guy in the Ebonyi State also, to a large extent, where we're having skirmishes is always Abia, Imo, but most, especially Anambra. Anambra has now become the epic center of unknown gunmen. The rate at which people are being killed in Anambra State, and I continue to wonder what Governor Charles Soludo is doing. Just a few days ago, about 7 people were killed that went for burial ceremony. And it has been that consistently. The Ihiala Aziz within the Anambra State have become a no-go area. So I believe that, one, it's as much as we are propagating that Nnamdi Kanu should be, the leaders of thought in the Southeast also should come together. Both the governors and leaders of thought also should come together and practically meet the president now and give him those. It goes beyond just Senator Abaribe. Why I say it goes beyond Senator Abaribe was Senator Abaribe was the one that got Nnamdi bail.
He stood as a guarantor.
It's 100 million naira.
Now he's willing to do it again.
I'm just saying that it's got to a point that when Nnamdi escaped, Senator Abaribe was picked up. And they insisted that he must get Nnamdi. And he now said that he came out and said, no, that is no longer a guarantor to Nnamdi Kanu. That's what he said. When Nnamdi, but I believe now that he says he's willing, it's not just only him. Every leader of thought, there's a particular man, I think it was Chief BKO, that senior elder statesman in Igbo land has died. No.
Yes. The First Republic.
Okay, First Republic.
He was that man who said that if there's anything that he wanted to see before he died, it was Nnamdi Kanu to be. But he's dead now. So I totally agree that the solution to this insecurity in the South is deals with issue of Nnamdi. And once it's released, some of these things will be...
All right, then. All right, let's move straight to our next conversation.